Craig Foster, a South African documentary filmmaker's health and family life were failing as a result of his high-stress lifestyle a few years ago, so he sought refuge in a tiny cove he had discovered as a boy. He met a female octopus by happenstance on one of his dives, and for the following 11 months, he dedicated his life to befriending her and learning everything he could about her. Despite their great differences in species, they formed a remarkable friendship. Welcome back to Documentary Recap. In today's video, we'll be going through a beautiful wildlife documentary film about a filmmaker who met a female octopus that cast a spell on him titled My Octopus Teacher from the year 2020. The peculiar beauty of their relationship is nicely evoked in the first scene. A slow aerial tracking view of an ethereally illuminated coastal shores opens the film. The music's flowing chants, the sound of surf crashing against stones, and the faint voices of seagulls immediately soothe us. In the next scene, we see him eye level with the octopus, who timidly remains half-tucked in her rocky den. Her body is much smaller than a cat's, but she has a cat-like proclivity for prodding Foster's exposed arm with her tentacles. We then flash forward to Foster being a middle-aged man designed to rediscover the undersea region that had enthralled him as a child. He said the cold weather and rough swells made it difficult for him to get into the water at first. There was also the fact that he had to hold his breath while underwater because he was free diving. But he overcame these obstacles and began to take in the unusual things he encountered in this realm, which he describes as far more severe than our most insane science fiction. Foster's awe and interest in the octopus can be seen during his first encounter. She's wearing one of her many disguises when he first encounters her. The camera then pans to a jumble of seashells that defies gravity in its arrangement. The shells crumble a split second later as the octopus that had been hidden beneath them takes off into the distance. She then wraps herself inside a giant frond of seaweed, nervously peering out of Foster before retreating once more. During their brief eye contact, he senses a connection which prompts him to come up with a crazy notion. He starts to ponder what would happen if he went every day. He makes it a practice to go to the same spot every day. He takes his time establishing a rapport with the animal as he can sense she's both fascinated and apprehensive around him. He simply leaves his camera outside her den at first. We see her approach it with caution, probing it with one tentacle while covering herself with a seashell securely gripped in the other. It takes her 26 days to reach out to Foster for the first time and even longer to fully emerge from her den in his presence. When she starts to trust him, a whole new universe of possibilities open up for them both. He captures magnificent close-up film of the animal's many different forms and hues, which are nearly as free-flowing as the water in which she lives. The two start swimming together, and the creature soon starts leaping onto his arm and chest like a pet looking for strokes. One day, he accidentally spooks her, forcing her to abandon her den and seek out another. He had given any hope of ever finding her. To find her, he must learn to detect octopus predation marks, distinguish octopus footprints from those of other animals, and think like an octopus. He makes intricate maps and detective pinboards at home. In other words, he transforms into a bushman of the entire kelp forest habitat where the octopus dwells. The octopus struggles to elude predators provide a few truly suspenseful moments. He admires her foresight in avoiding being devoured by a pajama shark by first camouflaging herself, and then, when that fails, jumping up on his back where he can't reach her. Another shark attack leaves her injured, and Foster feels bad about his possible role in the incident. He tortures himself with the thought that by distracting her from her surroundings, he render her exposed to attack. But she recovers from her injuries, and her recovery coincides with a time in his life when he's growing through personal growth. By the end of the film, Foster's time with her reawakened his dormant passions for photography in the ocean, made him feel sentimental toward animals for the first time. It transformed him into an ardent conservationist and amateur zoologist, eventually leading him to co-found the Sea Change Project, an ocean preservation nonprofit. What are your thoughts about this documentary? Comment below.